Hola, amigos, and welcome to Keyframers, the animated collaborative coding live stream where we bring imaginative user interfaces to life. I'm your host, Stephen Shaw, but you may know me as @Shaw.
And I'm your host, David Khourshid, also known as @DavidKPiano.
Together we are coding compadres, animation amigos, Boolean buddies, and keyframe companions.
Yep, as always, we're going to be creating an animation from scratch live using HTML, CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript. So please chime in the chat if you have any questions or any comments or whatever else you do in the chat. We're going to be happy to answer those.
That's right. Today we're doing a cool image hover effect for navigation, as shown here by this Pierce Interactive Showcase by Alexander on Dribble. We've got the link available below, and it's you know a relatively common effect, would you say? Like I see this coming up more and more.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I've been stuck in a world where I'm not looking at awards or CSS design tricks all the time, but it looks pretty unique and creative to me.
Yeah, I think there are elements of it that are along the lines of the awards sites and all that that you see more commonly now. But yeah, basically you hover a navigation item and you get an image revealed, and the image is following the cursor. So there's a nice little intro animation as well. But overall, like the main focus here is this image hovering effect.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to get into making this?
Sure. Yeah, let's dive right in. I hesitate to say that this sounds simple because every simple animation that we've done has turned out to have a few little, things that just make it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. And a lot of the complex animations were actually like pretty smooth sailing. It's weird. It's like this opposite effect.
Yeah, that doesn't end up being the case a lot of times. But I think for this one we're going to be okay. I've done a little bit of setup, and we've talked through a little bit of how we'll approach it. But just looking at the HTML really quick, we've got our app container as usual, and then we've got a main nav element with, what is that, 5 links inside, a elements with a title and an image inside. And so other than that, there's just a little bit of CSS setup where we're using Roboto to get the nice looking font, and then and that's really about it. I've got a max width on the images just so they're not blowing us out of the water until we get them properly positioned.
Yeah.
But I wanted to start by just doing this general layout, getting the links in place, and doing like the image kind of reveal on hover. I think that'd be good to focus on first, and then we can add in the like the mouse movement and the like outlined text effect that happens.
All right, sounds like a plan.
All right. So yeah, first of all, let's get a black background. And
let's blow up these titles. I'm going to be using viewport units for the font size, just because why not live life on the edge, So it's a 10 VH. And that's mainly because they are relative to the height. If you look at the original, the original.
Yes.
And so we have main nav. This app, is the app full height? We should probably make that.
It doesn't specifically need to be. We don't have to worry about it at this point.
Does.
Oh well, I guess if you're going to
full screen it,
center them. Let me go ahead and get the images. Position absolute. Do top 50%, left 50%. Transform, translate. -50%, -50%. And this is going to get them centered in the element. Yeah. And we'll take off. We'll do like a max width, like 80%, and then max height, like 90 viewport height or something like that. Okay, great. And let's go ahead and set it to set them to display none, and then on hover or focus, the image will be display block. And we'll add pointer events, none to them as well. Hey, cool. And we already have the whole effect. Thanks for joining us. So glad you could learn with us. Yeah, so
that was mighty fast. All right, so realizing that all the things are contained in the main nav, which means I have to do main nav here. Yeah. And oops, column.
Yeah. I always get it backwards at first. Always.
All right, so there we go. Now we have them evenly spaced. And this is space around, not space between. And I'll just show you the difference. Space between is not going to give us what we want, because that's going to make the top one and the bottom one touch the edges. And that's not exactly what the original animation had. So space around works fine there.
Yeah, and we can probably even add a little bit of padding, pH, something like that, just to give a little extra space around the edges, and adjust the font size just slightly. Let's move this up in here. Lower the font size just slightly. And remove that at the end. Hey, Harold, thanks for joining us. All right. So, yeah, that's working pretty well already. That's great.
Black here. Gonna make this slightly off black.
Slightly off black.
Okay. Yeah, 060706, just because that's the background color.
I've heard of off white, but never off black.
Like off black. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So for this very basic image hover effect, already, you know, this is a very cool effect. We could set the title to be above the image so that you're still seeing that text, but we'll get into the outline version of that. But right now, I mean, you've just got an image inside of a link, and whenever you hover over it, the image goes display block, and you know that alone is a pretty cool effect that you can do a lot with as a base.
And now we're going to ruin this entire thing, and I'm going to tell you why. Because the image right now is being centered in the middle, but here's what I'm thinking, and this is just planning in advance for the whole mouse movement thing. We want to capture the mouse's X and Y position on the entire screen, just because we want that image to follow our mouse around. Now, that image could also change depending on what it's hovering over. So in my view, that means that the easiest thing to do would be to have those images position fixed. They could stay exactly the same, that they are in the HTML right now. By having them position fixed means that every one of those images is on an even playing field.
Yes.
And we could position them all the same with variables.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking as well. We'll
cool, great. Minds think alike.
We'll switch those over to position fixed once we get the mouse variables in there. Do you want to, before we get to there, would you like to do the outlined text overlay?
Yeah.
First,
go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I think that'll.
You've done this, or we've done this in a previous episode. I'm going to try to dig that up.
Yeah. I forget which one we did it in. But my thought was just doing a pseudo element in the title. But do you think we need to actually duplicate the title, just depending on z indexes?
I don't think we need to duplicate the title. We just need to have it be if it's hovered, it's the outline and it's on top of the image. And
Right.
also all the other images have to be below, or all the other titles have to be below the image, because in the animation, see,
Yeah.
that was one thing that I was like, that's going to be a gotcha. The fact that all the other titles are below the image except for the one being hovered, which
Yeah.
it's a really cool effect, but yeah.
Right, and that's one of those seemingly simple things that can really come back to bite you.
Yeah.
So I'm just duplicating right now all of the text in a data title. You could do this a lot of different ways, but I feel like this is just going to be the quickest approach.
So I posted in the chat a previous episode. It was actually pretty recent, or relatively recent. Time is relative at this point, where we do have that outline effect on those lines. It's not the smooth animation, but well, actually, no, it's not smooth animation on here either. It's just you're either showing the full blocky title or you're showing an outline.
Yeah, so, which that's all we need here. We're not.
Yeah.
There's not really like a transition in the in this. It really just snaps. There's maybe like a slight opacity animation on the image, which we can get into if we have time, but just toggling it I think is perfectly fine. All right, so for title here, we've got the data title on everything, so let's add an after pseudo element. We'll do content attribute, this little CSS attribute function, data title, and right away that will give us duplicate text, but we can do position absolute, left 0, top 0. I wish there were a way to just group the positioning values all together instead of individually top, left, right, bottom. But that is enough. Let's do color red for now, just so we can tell the difference. Okay, cool. We've got it overlaid right on top, and that alone is a really great way to do different hover effects for text if you don't want to like shift the layout for like changing bold, like if we did, you know, font weight 300 here and then font weight 900 here, and then we could do display none, and then on hover we can do title after display block, and then let's see, 900, something like that. Well, I guess with the image hovering, it's not showing us. Let's see. Yeah, why isn't that?
Weird. Strange. I have some centered and some not.
Yeah. I think I'm not importing the weights properly there, so let's not worry about that for now. But that's a great way to do that. First.
Yeah.
And we'll focus more on that later. Right now I'm leaving the image hidden just so we can focus on this after. We don't actually need to reveal it. We could actually just leave it up since it's going to be about the same there, and then we'll go back over to this and just look really quick at the outline text. I want to make sure I grab all the properties correctly. Got the radio group and the group. Let's see. Wow, that's all the CSS for this. That's great.
Not bad at all.
Color and text. Okay, stroke shadow is what we ended up using for this. Using text stroke instead of like the actual outline effect. So we can declare this up here on root if we need. Stroke shadow, we'll do it as white, and we'll say shadow size as what? 1 pixel. I could probably do 2 pixels here. Let's see how that looks.
Pay no attention to the ghost at the top left. No attention.
All right. Stroke shadow. Okay, there we go. We've already got that. And we can do color transparent. And then we'll just end up with our additional outline there. Oh boy.
The purpose of the ghost is just to haunt you temporarily.
Let's see. One thing I can't remember. Oh, sorry for covering your head there. Let's see. This has text shadow. I don't believe text shadow has inset. Box shadow does, but text shadow does not. That's one difference there. So it will give us, hey, look at that. There's a ghost moving around. All right, shadow size, let's bump that down to 1 pixel. There we go. Feels much better. And yeah, let's go ahead and do display none on it, except for when you're hovering. Okay. Now, let's see if we can get the layering right. So we've got our image reveal back. Let's see if we can do Z index 5. And we'll do transparent.
Wait, do we post a link to the dribble? I do want people to...
Yeah. Yeah, and there's one.
Yeah. So Harold asks, what application is this? This is called CodePen.io, and it's basically a playground for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And it allows you to easily make just front-end experiments, things like that.
And it has a great collab mode that we're using right now.
Yeah. And we have been using for the past, what was it, 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, it's we're on our 3rd year now.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty wild. But yeah, I also use this little documentation app called Dash, if that's what you were asking about, Harold. Let's see. Okay, so right now that text shadow approach is not working. Let's see. Because I've got the after set up with the Z index. Let's do color red. Let's see. Okay. Color red is working.
Would it be enough to just... no, can't do that.
Let's see.
Yeah, how are we in that? That's definitely one of the trickier parts. It's just clipping that.
Oh, because it has to be...
It has to be clipped. It can't just be...
So this is... Yeah, this is where we need to use WebKit text stroke instead.
But will it do that clipping effect?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll do color transparent. And don't use color transparent for text that needs to be accessible, but in this case, the after element is not actually needing to be readable. Hey, there we go. That's already working. Okay.
Oh, wow.
We'll just do that as white, and we'll bump this down to like 2 pixels, and we'll take off all this complexity here.
Now, will that work once we move these images over to position fixed?
Yeah, that's the real question here.
I think it would, right? Because that doesn't affect what layer the images live on. It just affects...
It does sometimes. Let's go ahead and toggle it over to position fixed, and we can see. Okay. No, it looks like it's still
works?
Yeah, still working, so that's great.
Okay, perfect.
Let's do max width like 60%, max width, max height 80. Size them down a little bit. Okay, so we've already got it position fixed. That's great.
Awesome.
And it does come out just a little too much. Let's bump that down. Okay. Cool. And
these images are huge. What do you think about making them a little bit smaller?
I did size them down a bit. It just depends on your window height and everything. Why is our navigation offset right now?
I don't know. You want to let me dive into that? I think it is because of me. Hold on. Let me.
Is that ghost taking up space?
It's a goat, not a ghost.
Oh, a
first
goat.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. That'll do it. All right. Whoa.
Cool. So now I mean, the one problem here is that it's doing it for all the titles, which I feel should be an easy fix.
Yeah. So if we do image hover on hover, bump that up to Z index 2, then that should fix it. Did that do it?
Nope. Gotta go higher, like 9 or 99. 999.
Okay, there we go. Great. Easy enough, and that's already a cool effect.
Oh, Harold was talking about Dash.
Yeah.
The documentation thing that you use.
Yep, that's it.
Cool. Now we are 90% of the way there.
Yeah. All right. So you've got some mouse movement happening, right?
I do. Okay. Yeah, just pretty simple stuff, and we're even logging into the console if you care to see. But we're logging the X and Y position, which is the client X and the client Y of the mouse as it relates to the body. So basically, the entire thing. All we have to do, since those are being applied to the app, we could just use those CSS variables and apply them to the images themselves.
Yeah.
So I have a handy X pics and Y pics here. All right, where are those images? There we go.
Yeah, right in here.
I'm just going to do it out here. No reason for them to be, well, actually, yeah, just to make things a little bit more readable. So we have those X pics and Y pics, and now I am using a Shaw technique, which is, which honestly, this still blows my mind. The fact that you could apply transformations multiple times. So over here, I'm applying one that moves it to the mouse position, the X and Y position, and then I'm readjusting it so that it appears in the center of the mouse. And that way I don't have to wrestle with any fancy calcs in the translate. I could just layer those on top of each other, and that just works. Just pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah. This is, man, that's already there. That's great.
It works. Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
So let's add a little more padding here to like the title.
Images are still pretty big, but that's just my
thing. 0. PM, something like that. Oh no, we want to add it here. And maybe do it like 1ph, something like that. And that gives a little more space for the mouse to move.
Yeah, so I'm gonna change something too. Right now we have justify content space around. I'm gonna make those center, and the result is the titles are gonna touch each other.
Yeah.
But the image doesn't change. So what we could do is we could add a little bit of padding to each of those titles, so that, because in the original animation, the images don't like disappear then reappear.
Right.
They morph into each other.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a fade.
Can we do that?
Yeah. So right now the images are going from display none to display block, which this is ideal for performance. Like you don't want 20 images all moving around with the mouse. With display none, at least those layers shouldn't be updating. But if we toggle this over to, instead of display none, do visibility hidden, and then opacity 0, transition, opacity 0.3 seconds linear, visibility 0 seconds, linear 0.3 seconds, and then on hover, we'll go to visibility, visible, opacity 1. Let's okay, let's see. We don't want to delay here. Oh, we want to take off the transition delay here. There we go. It's already doing it.
Cool. We could probably get those a little bit faster.
Yeah, right now it's just at 0.3 seconds. It can definitely be a little bit less there. So let's do 60.
I reckon you could go from 0.3 seconds even down to 300 milliseconds. Kidding. It's the same thing.
You're making me do head math. Don't.
You were like, math's a little bit off there.
Yeah. Don't do that to me, David. It's too late in the day for that.
Not on Monday? Okay.
Not on Monday. Okay. I mean, wow. That's
so cool.
That's pretty impressive. This went surprisingly smooth.
Yeah. In half an hour. We did this in half an hour.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Is it really only?
It's really only half an hour. Yeah.
Okay.
But we are missing one thing. Can you guess what we're missing?
No.
The intro.
The intro animation.
Yeah. So I have conveniently applied some styles.
Look at
inline
you.
styles.
Aww.
I equals 0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh,
and
David.
we can use those to make those animate in. And so I'm going to add transform origin top left, and we're going to do a little bit of the skew animation, which I always forget which way the skew goes whenever we do that.
Yeah, that's always hard to say. I'm just going to do a one-time animation.
Yeah, animation. I'm going to call it a swoop because it's a skew swoop.
I like it.
Swoop.
That's great.
0.3 seconds. Ease. Well, we'll change the ease later.
Probably just skew Y, like 5 degrees. Translate. Let's see. Translate Y 100 VH. Actually, I don't know if the 100 VH is needed.
No, probably not. I think the skew will be plenty enough. So what do you think about or you know what, I'm just going to put this at 0. And, all right. So we could add a animation delay of calc var I times.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a translate. It doesn't necessarily have to be the full 100 VH, but there we go. You'll want to do both here, or fill mode backwards at least. Go. What did you set as our easing? Okay.
Yeah, just that standard. Looking over the animation again, seeing how accurate we are. Yeah, it does come in pretty fast, but it has a long tail. And I think you know what I mean by a tail. Like when you're playing an instrument like a guitar or a piano, you have the attack, right? Where it happens really fast, but then it decays pretty slowly. And so we could use that those same principles for animation as well. So you modified the cubic Bezier to have that longer tail, and we also need to modify the duration, which Shaw bumped it up from 0.3 to 0.9. And also
we're animating the duration here as well. Let me do a quick replay snippet so that if we click, it'll
ask
reset.
you for that.
Yeah. This is a super handy trick if you're debugging CSS animations and really don't want to like reopen the dev tools or make a bunch of changes to get it to refresh. Add event listener on the body and toggle it from hidden to not hidden. And whenever an element goes from display none to display block or whatever, the animations on it restart. So it gets that real cool effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks good.
Yeah, I think we can probably delay a little bit or increase the duration a little bit on the other ones, and probably add just a little bit of a animation delay as well. Sometimes just doing the combination of the two.
Yeah, that's
really
interesting. We
really
usually
helps.
do one or the other, but yeah, it feels a little sluggish. But we could modify that.
Yeah.
When will Shaw move to milliseconds? Like at some point, yeah, 0.05 seconds. It's like maybe 50 milliseconds makes more sense.
Nah.
That's like M's and REMs. It's like you get the exact same effect or whatever you want to accomplish, but it's a matter of personal choice.
Let's see. Just playing around here with the different options. Duration, like increasing the duration depending on the animation you're doing can be really good, but using just delay sometimes is a good approach. Yeah, just a balance, figuring out which to do. Hey, that feels good.
It does.
Okay, awesome.
Well, that didn't do much of anything. 0.2 VH. I'm adding a little bit of letter spacing. Just because, yeah, it feels a little bit better. A little bit more breathing room. Whoa, never mind. Too much.
No, it's good. I adjusted the unit.
Okay.
Yeah, I always forget about. Yeah, I always forget about Char.
Char is a very useful
character. What does it actually stand for?
Character.
Yeah.
So the width of the
glyph 0.
The glyph 0. Okay. Yeah, it's weird. We have Cha, we have X, we have M, we have L, I believe. I think.
No L.
Am I imagining things?
No, I see LH. LH is line height. Not fully supported.
We also have centimeters, millimeters, which I doubt they're accurate, but
so it those basically calculate down to pixels based on the display density. But it's still using like different conversions. Like it doesn't necessarily mean 1 inch on the screen. So it gets weird. Don't recommend trying to do that unless you're messing around with print styles. That can be a nice approach. All right. Wow. Anything else to add here?
I don't think so. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does.
That was fast. Record time.
Yeah, I think we did set a land speed record.
Yeah.
A code speed record. Okay, awesome. Well, what should we break down from this one?
Oh, there's a few things. First of all, your text outline stuff. Definitely the mouse position stuff with CSS variables. And we could touch on the what do we call it? The it's a stagger, but not with delays, with staggering the duration. So just
staggering the duration.
Yeah. You know how we have a different duration for each?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do. All right. I'm gonna do a little bit of setup here, where we can just make this this up, and then do. So we can really see that, and then we'll go ahead and set display on those. Actually, that's not even how we're doing it. So we can do. Yeah, why don't we cover the intro animation first?
Yeah.
And then we can cover the CSS variable, mouse position, tracking, and then we'll do the reveal and hover layering after that. Does that sound good?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. So those of you watching live, stay with us. We're doing kind of some animation breakdowns of the techniques we've used here. So if you haven't caught the full thing or whatever, it's helpful to kind of get this overview and see the techniques that we landed on. So hang in there. We might be doing some intro-y stuff, but just follow along with us. David, I wanted to adjust the script a little bit in here, where we're just going to lead off with, like let's break down XYZ from our image hover navigation animation, and then as an outro, we'll do the sponsors and the full process bit.
All right. Yeah. We have a script?
Something like that. A little. Sometimes. Okay, let me remove this. You can pledge, yeah. Okay, yeah. I think that. All right. Okay. So yeah, let's get into it. Here we go. Let me give myself a little marker here. Stay tuned. All right, let's break down the intro animation from our image hover navigation animation that we've got here. So we've got a nice text-heavy navigation that whenever it's opened or you land on the page at first, it has this really nice simple animation. So we are using a couple of techniques that we've done before, where we have CSS variables for the number of items. So basically, each link in this navigation gets an index variable, an I variable, showing which number it is, 1 through 4 here, 1 through 4.
0.
0 through 4. Sorry. Thank you. Yes, it is. Yeah. It is 0 based, which I go either way on when you're doing CSS variables for indexing. But if you're thinking about it like an array of elements in JavaScript, then that would be how it goes. So each of these image hovers, we've applied this swoop animation as David described it, because we're translating it down and skewing it. So it's swooping in, scooping in, and that skew Y is what gives it that nice kind of tilt effect, if you will. We could have done it with like the characters and doing staggering on each of the characters, but
that'd been cool.
that just adds a lot. You've got to incorporate splitting or do your own text splitting, and
Yeah.
it just adds a lot. So to keep it simple, we're just doing a skew, and it happens fast enough that it gives the same impression there, and we do have a set duration on it, but we're actually overriding that down below here with the CSS variables. Doing an override rather than setting it explicitly on there, just in case you forgot a CSS variable or the CSS variable doesn't actually calculate out to something that can be used, you still have a real value that the browser can animate with. And so if we take off these others, you'll see you still get that animation. It's just it's not as pretty. Typically, when we're doing staggering animations, we'll do the animation delay with that index and stagger it by a certain amount, just depending on which one it is, and that gives a really great effect all on its own. But by staggering the duration as well, you get an even smoother kind of effect where the items later in the list are actually animating more slowly in, so you get, I don't know, a little more visual processing time to actually see those items come in. Like if we just do the standard delay, it's great. If you do it with the duration, I don't know, the feeling of it is just so much smoother to me. Don't you feel?
Yeah, it's a bit of a retardando.
Yeah.
In music, if you could imagine it that way.
And that translates to what in English?
It means a slowing down where
Yes,
you're
of course.
approaching a sigh of relief. I don't know. It's definitely smoother though.
Yes. So this is a really great effect from just one of the pieces that pulls together to make this image hover navigation effect. You can check out the full video for a more complete breakdown of this technique, and we also have other breakdowns of it that you can watch.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll intro the mouse position tracking one, and then you take it from there.
All right.
All right, let's break down the mouse position tracking with CSS variables from our image hover navigation effect.
All right. So first things first, we need a reference to the app because that's where we're going to be tracking. Actually, no, we're not tracking it on the app. We're using the app to actually apply the X and Y position of the mouse, which is basically the only two things we need to move the image so that it's following the mouse. And so we're adding a mouse move event listener on the body. And so if you open up the console, you could see what those values are as the mouse moves around. And so I recommend you do that. Use console log liberally just to make sure that you're getting the right values. And we're going to be applying those directly to the app on the X and Y CSS custom properties or CSS variables. And so remember, the client X and the client Y are the X and Y positions as they relates to the document window. So we're not going to have to do extra math and figure out where those positions are. So taking those in, we have these two variables over here. We have X pix and Y pix, and we're just converting those raw number values into pixel values because we're going to be using those directly on the transform prop of each of those images so that they follow the mouse. Now, to do that, we need to do two things. First of all, we need to position the image so that it's at the X and Y position of the mouse. But if we do that, it's only going to be at the top left corner. So that's why we also need to add that translate -50%, -50%. And so with CSS, you could stack those transforms and they're going to apply onto each other. So we have move it to X and Y and then move it -50%, -50%. And that way you have a nice, easy way to center the image so that it's so that your mouse cursor is right at the center of that image. Also, these images are not on the body itself, like they're not a direct child of the body. Rather, they are children of, what did we call it? We called it
Image hover.
Image hover. So they're children of that, but to get them to basically be on top of each other, we apply position fixed to each one of those images.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, this is just such a cool effect, and I mean, there's barely any JavaScript. You know, if we take out this console.log, we've got basically 4 lines of JS to power that. And just giving those values to CSS and then using them in the transform there really makes this effect come to life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can watch the full video to see how we do this, the rest of this technique, all the little animations and little details of it. So be sure to check that out. All right, so let's cover the reveal on hover text outline dealio. Right. Let's break down the reveal on hover with text outline effect from our image hover navigation animation here. We've got a lot of great elements to it, but the core feature of this effect is the image that follows and this this really cool text outline kind of reveal inside of that image is what it feels like. But we're actually accomplishing this with some layers. So you can see in the HTML here, we've got our image hover links and a title and an image. If we look in our CSS, there's not too much going on with that. But the title here we've got actually sized to be what we want, and then the image is position fixed inside of it. We break down the mouse positioning aspect of it in another video. Go check that out. And then we're revealing the image itself through visibility hidden and opacity 0 with a transition on both of those properties. And that's what helps the image kind of smoothly fade in or smoothly transition between the two. You can see on hover and on focus, we go to visibility visible, opacity 1 with a transition delay of 0 seconds. That's a trick for animating visibility, if you will, or transitioning visibility. If you add a delay to it when it's going to visibility hidden, then it stays visible until that transition completes. And then whenever you want to reveal it, you take that delay off so that it instantly appears. And then the kind of text outline effect, it's really just a separate layer. You can see here we've got this after pseudo element. If I change the text stroke, you can see it a little more clearly. It's just overlaying the text all the time. On each of our titles, I have a data attribute with the same text as the title itself. If you're doing this in React or whatever, like, that's really easy to do, just duplicating the content there. But yeah, populating it in and after elements, position absolute and layered over it with a little bit of a Z index, and then color transparent, because this doesn't need to be accessible text. This is just for a visual effect. So we're giving it the transparent center so the image shows through, and then the text stroke is a special WebKit thing that reveals that kind of outline around the text. And the image itself is Z-index 2 so that you get the proper layering there, and it looks like the image is kind of cutting through the text or like clipping the text to give that effect.
An illusion.
Yeah, it's all an illusion. That's most of web animation and web effects is just creating the proper illusion. So we've got a lot more about creating this effect and breaking down the techniques even further. So go back and check out the full live video. All right, now I'm gonna do a little bit of the outro here, and we'll edit that in.
Okay.
Our show is sponsored by CodePen at codepen.io, CSS Tricks at css-tricks.com, and viewers like you. You can pledge at patreon.com/keyframers, and we've got links available below for that.
And you could also watch the full process of us creating this animation from scratch, where we dive deeper into each technique. So please check out the live stream. It's actually a short one this time because we finished in record time.
Yes.
If you have any questions, leave a comment or ask in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer.
That's right. All of our videos are available at youtube.com/keyframers. So subscribe there and check out more of our great content. That's all we have for you today. Thanks for watching. Adios, amigos.
Adios.